Good morning. My name is Kathy Galatka, and I'm pleased to welcome each of you. Whether you're joining us here in person for the first time or from home or wherever, welcome to 2021 Silent Samaritan Celebration and Thanksgiving Luncheon. This is the 26th year of the Silent Samaritan program, and we have so many reasons to celebrate and to be thankful. This event is truly a celebration of women helping women. Please look around. Your friends are close by or women you don't know. Each one of us, whether you're joining us in person or virtually, has something in common. You care about other people, you care about women, and through your financial support, you make a real difference in the lives of women in our community. There are hundreds of women and their families who thank you for giving them the opportunity to heal and to grow by making it possible for them to receive the counseling they need. Thank you to each and every one of you for being a Silent Samaritan. I want to welcome our new Silent Samaritans and our guests to today's event. You have joined a remarkable group focused on helping other women who seek counseling but are at a time and place in their lives where they cannot afford it. As we welcome women joining us for the first time, we also recognize those women who have been with us from the beginning. The first Silent Samaritan Luncheon was held in 1996. That year, 150 women became Silent Samaritans for the first time and raised just over $16,000. We celebrate some of those women who are joining us today. Thank you to our Charter Samaritans. Would you please stand if you're a Charter Samaritan of the Silent Samaritans? Thank you very much, ladies. As individual Silent Samaritans, your generosity is incredible. As a group, the impact you are making on the lives of women in need is extraordinary. This year, we are over 300 women in strength, and we have raised more than $49,000 so far. In the 26 years of the Silent Samaritan program, we have raised individual contributions of over $15 million. Give yourselves a big hand. Thank you. I would like to take a moment to recognize the members of the Silent Samaritan Luncheon Planning Committee. They've worked all year long to plan today's event. All of the committee members' names are listed in your program, and they each contributed so much to the success of the luncheon. So if I could ask the committee members to stand to be recognized, would you please do that? Thank you. Thank you, ladies. One of the reasons our individual dollars are able to make such a difference is because the support of our sponsors. Thanks to these sponsorships, the dollars we give to the Silent Samaritan Fund go much further to help women in transition who need financial support for counseling. We would like to thank and recognize all of our event sponsors supporting the mission of women helping women. Each of our sponsors is featured in your program. We're going to give special thanks to our community sponsor, NCR Digital, our champion sponsors, Everence Financial, Fulton Bank, and Tiger's Eye of Lidditz, our supporting sponsors, Atwater Malik, Burnt's Hetz and Company, Lancaster Physical Therapy and Sports Medicine, Liz Track, Matthew 25 Thrift Store, and all of our table sponsors. Each of your contributions is making a real difference in the lives of women in our community. Thank you very much. I'd like to take a moment to reflect with you on the reason we are all here. The women and their children who seek counseling during difficulties and life struggles, but who can't afford the counseling services they need. Being a Silent Samaritan, helping women who are struggling gives us a special opportunity to make an impact on their lives. This unique fund provides a message of hope to many women who find themselves struggling with life's transitions. The message of hope offered by the Silent Samaritan Fund helps heal their pain, teaches them new ways to cope, opens their eyes to new opportunities, and supports them and their families on their journey of growth. Our contributions to the Silent Samaritan Endowment ensure that the Silent Samaritans will continue many years into the future. Let's talk a little bit more about the Silent Samaritan Endowment. This is a fund set aside for the long-term benefit of the Silent Samaritan mission, women helping women. While the principle of the fundraising remains invested, we can use a portion each year to support new and expanded ways to support women. This year, we could designate approximately $4,000 to be distributed in January 2022. If you're an endowment donor, you were asked to vote for the program you would like to support. A brief description of each program is included in your program, and there is more information about each program available to you as you enter Fellowship Hall. We're thrilled to announce that the program receiving the proceeds of the endowment this year is Career Coaching for Women. I would now like to invite Bethany Georgia, Interim Coordinator of Samaritan Business Counseling, to speak to you about how your endowment gift will impact women next year. Bethany? Oh, there you are.
Snuck up on you. Hello, my name is Bethany Georgia. I'm the interim coordinator for Samaritan Business Consulting. On behalf of our team, I want to thank you all for your support of career coaching services for women in Lancaster County. These services provide an invaluable resource for women who are facing a job loss or a career change. And they can include resume development, training to improve interview skills, assessments to discover a woman's natural skills, and more. One woman, Angie, who benefited from these services, said, and the help of the Silent Samaritans, said that career coaching gave her the positive hope she needed and pointed her in the right direction after suffering a difficult and unexpected job loss. Your support will help women like Angie on their career journeys, improving their lives and the lives of the people they love. Thank you.
I'm also excited to let you know that we were able to release some unused endowment funding from a previous year, which means we're able to partially fund both of the other programs. Thank you to all of our endowment donors. You are making a real positive impact on women in our community. As you have noticed, we are beginning today's events with our presentation here in the auditorium. Following the presentation, we will move across the hall to Fellowship Hall. I'd like to now introduce you to a poet and therapist, Judith Kennedy. Judith is a clinical therapist at the Samaritan Counseling Center. She has worked in the mental health field for over 25 years. She is a published poet. She has 2 books of poetry, Salted Wakings and To See in the Night, and her work has appeared in numerous literary journals. Judith also participates in spoken word performances. Judith sees journaling and the creative arts as resources for processing trauma, storytelling, and inspiration. Please welcome Judith.
I'd first like to acknowledge that poetry and the arts does circulate through Samaritan Counseling Center hallways and offices throughout the years. And I'd like to acknowledge my fellow therapist poets, Ellen Carnegie, Deborah Miller, Carol Campbell, Shelby Hardy, and others. And as Leslie Huff said the other day, poetry is the language of the soul. I'd also like to thank the women and their children who entrust all of us with their hearts. I'll start my reading today with a quote by Irish poet and theologian John O'Donoghue. He says, "Landscape is the firstborn of creation. It was here long, long before we were even dreamed. It was here without us. It watched us arrive. How strange we must have seemed to the ancient eye of landscape. Oh, what have you seen, O ancient of trees? Cypress of the Mediterranean, Sierra Nevada sequoia, bristlecone pine of white mountains, sweet chestnut of Sicily, olives of Provence, of Noah and Gethsemane. Here before our human feet stood upon the ground. Oh, what have you seen, O ancient of trees, with your curled and broken branches, your trunks often wide as you are tall, weathered for millennia, roots extending, green sprouts writhing, survivors of droughts, fires, floods, plagues, and war. Thousands of dark nights and magenta suns arising before we were born. And who have you seen wander in your groves and gardens, O ancient ones, lost and fearful with yearning and grief, so alone, yet so close beside you? The painter Van Gogh, David with his harp, the son of Bethlehem, mothers and daughters, we ourselves, neighbors and friends. Have you absorbed their tears, supported our backs, offered respite and nurture and solace? And what have you offered them, O ancient of trees? The purple hue of your leaves, a lemon sunlight dancing, sounds of cicada, moonlight halos of silver, the oil from the fruit of your making as in ancient times of anointings. Did you extend to the dove your olive branch for the aching eyes of Noah? Was your oil mixed with camphor and myrrh and poured on the heads of survivors? And for what do you wish, O living tree? For us to see you as you see us, to see ourselves in you, to care for you, to receive your grace, O firstborn, to drop our swords, melt them into plowshares, to see we are one body, that our limbs are your limbs and your limbs are ours. To see the fruits of your love have been here all along, in your mountains, forests, and valleys, in your misting seas, in all the rivers flowing north and south, east and west, in the stars' magnificent turning. To see your constancy right here on earth, sprung from a void of darkness. Do you long for a new creation, a new way, a new song?
Thank you so much, Judith. Now I would like to introduce you to our musical performance of the program. We are honored to welcome Douglas Smith and Laura Schlesser. Douglas is a pianist, multi-instrumentalist, and songwriter from Lancaster City, and Laura is a mother, activist, singer, and financial professional in Lancaster. Here is the story behind their musical number they will perform for us. The artist, Beth Nielsen Chapman, wrote this song 28 years ago for her husband, who was facing bone marrow surgery. She said he was very afraid, and at the time of great uncertainty, this song brought him so much comfort. Here to perform, There Is a Light. Welcome, Douglas and Laura.
Good morning. There's a light, there's a light in the darkness, and the black of the night cannot harm us. We can trust, not to fear, for our comfort is near. There's a light in the darkness. It will rain, it will rain in the desert, in the cracks of the plain. There's a treasure, like the thrust of the seed. We will wait, we believe. It will rain, it will rain in the desert. We will fly, we will fly, we will let go to this world. We will die, but our hearts know we'll see more on that side when the door opens wide. We will fly, we will fly, we will fly, we will fly.
Thank you, Douglas and Laura. That was wonderful. Beautiful music. Now for our keynote speaker, Diane Brandt. Diane is a local liturgical artist and practicing spiritual director. We would like to introduce you to Diane through her video testimony.
30-some years ago, I can't believe it, I was a stay-at-home mom with 3 elementary school-age children, and it was a sweet life. We had a little Cape Cod in a sweet neighborhood, and we were right down the street from the schools so they could walk. It really was lovely when I think about it these days. The other piece was there was alcoholism and codependency in our home, and unfortunately, it broke it open and broke it apart. I sought counseling for both of us. I wanted it desperately, but my husband decided, sadly, to leave. My children and I, we were all so devastated. But I had this deep, deep desire that somehow I could go to counseling, that there was a way that I could break the cycle of dysfunction, generations of family dysfunction. I really believed that there was some way that things could be different, better. But I was also in a situation that's very common to other women like me at that time, and even today, and that is, I was so broke. I wanted counseling, but with the breadwinner having left and no means as of yet, I didn't know how I could afford it. I really couldn't, but I really wanted it. But I was so fortunate. One day I was at the bank, and this woman, I was talking to her a little bit. I'm sure I was complaining up a storm. Whoa, whoa, whoa. And she said, woe is me. And she said, do you know that there's this agency that offers help for people like you? You might want to go check it out. They help displaced homemakers. That's what we were called, displaced homemakers. Oh my gosh, it seems a million years ago. But I must say, that agency, very much like the silent Samaritans, they offered me a lifeline, an opportunity to unpack all the understandings of love that was handed to me in my family of origin. That love was conditional and manipulative and controlling, and it was power over. And we know it's none of those things. It was that place that I learned to grow and to heal and thrive, and I wanted more and more and more. And what it did, more importantly too, was lead to me doing the real work as a victim of childhood sexual abuse. And there I learned that I was not what was done to me. Do you hear that? I am not what was done to me. That is so life-giving for men and women and their families, to remove that shame from their hearts. So today, when I think of the gifts of counseling, the word that comes to me is freedom. I always have a freedom to choose to respond, not react, but respond out of a place of centeredness, a place of caring, a place of love and compassion. I don't always do it, but I have a choice today, right? And the other thing I think of is this quote from Cheryl Strayed. And that is, it's not the family that created you. It's the family you get to create. So thank you. Thank you for helping other women like me. You will never know how it ripples out into the world to bring healing and wholeness to so many. So thank you very much. Hi, everybody. My name is Diane Brandt, and that was me last year. The committee had sent out a request. Could you please talk how counseling had transformed your life? Yeah. And could you do it under 4 minutes, please? Yeah, you try it. Go ahead. It was a really good exercise. Today I'm here to talk to you about hope and the healing gifts of creativity. We heard poetry, born of the heart and the spirit, and music. It transforms us, lifts us up. So I'm going to talk about creativity and some of the things I learned in my 15 years of leading co-creating workshops. But I'm going to begin with this notion. We were all born to create. Can I get an amen? Come on. Yay. We all love to play as kids, right? Use our imaginations to hang from a tree and gaze at an upside-down world. Right? Or stare at the night sky and just wonder who might be looking back at you. And for me, a product of the 60s, imagining which Beatle you would grow up to marry. Paul McCartney. Always Paul McCartney. So the desire, the urge, call it a spark of creativity, it is in all of us, just by virtue of being born. After all, now think about it. Doesn't the Judeo-Christian story even begin in the beginning with this dynamic scene of a world being created by this loving presence? And doesn't it go on to say that you, me, all of us were created and that's the divine creator's own image? Yes. So couldn't we say that our Creator delights in our creating? Yes. But sadly, as we grow up, we grow out of using our creative muscles, our imaginations. Somehow we build these critical voices, some harsher, this nasty inner dialogue, right? And that stops us before we even begin, even allow ourselves to play or learn something new, right? So I'm going to try a little experiment just right now, shall we? Go ahead, yes. I see your head shaking. I hear you in the back, yes. So now when I say at the luncheon today, because you really are, at the luncheon today, you will be invited to draw something and then share it with others. How y'all doing? Oh, that's great. Oh, good. How you feeling? How you feeling in your body? Like you're going to draw something and share it with others. Examining our relationship with creativity is a way to begin, right? Now, as a child, if I had a box of crayons and a cool coloring book, I was in heaven. Now, as an adult, I longed to paint, play with fabrics, textures, make a glorious mess with shades of color. But my harsh, critical voice would tell me, you never went to art school. right? You aren't trained. You don't know what you're doing. Besides, you have 3 kids, and isn't that a waste of time? It's not very productive, is it? You're not making any kind of money, right? So how did I recover this spark, this innate, liberating joy of creativity? Well, here is my brief but spectacular story of recovery and the wild and wonderful moment in a counseling session that offered me the freedom to live the creative life I was meant to live. Now, there was a part of that video I didn't share, a very important part. Really, there was enough, but I didn't share with you the deepest wound in my life. And that is when I was 11 years old, my mother left our family. I'm 11, right? She moved away with another man, and she started a whole new family. What she left behind were 5 abandoned children. Abandoned, angry, lost. I was devastated, stunned. She was home one day and gone the next. And there was no honoring of grief in my home. There were no words, no way. Tragically, I was given the message that we are better off without her. Now remember, I'm 11 years old, so puberty brought with its own horrifying realizations of what was done to me when I was 5 years old by a relative. As my body changed, my shame deepened, right? And I lived in a small town, so I figured out what my mother did was really shameful. Moms don't leave their children, right? So her shame mixed with my shame, creating this powerful, debilitating, toxic brew in my little body. I knew myself as a bad girl, born of a bad mother. Oh my, do you think this girl could use some counseling? And yes, let's fast forward 20 years, and I'm finally with someone like Judith. I'm in a counseling session, and I touched on that Grand Canyon-sized mother hole in my heart. And once I stopped weeping and finally wound down, my counselor paused. Good listener. She paused and listened and asked, this is the moment, what would it be like for you to mother yourself? Well, mother myself? Well, yeah, you're a mother of 3 children, and you want what's best for them, and you told me that's what brought you here in the first place, right? Wow, what would it be like to offer, she said, that same brand of love, those same hopes and dreams to yourself? Could I mother myself? It seemed like a monumental task, but how when I was already walking around? Shame is like this inner bully with you all the time. Could I stop judging and offer compassion to myself? Is that even possible? And I had no clue how to do it, but I could imagine it, right? That spark of creativity. I could imagine it. And boy, did I desperately want to learn how to do that. So one day at a time, I began to listen and pay attention. And I journaled, right? I listened to how I treat myself whenever I made a mistake, screwed up, especially had struggles in relationships with others, which I had plenty of practice. Oh my gosh, I was one glorious hot mess. Even in good situations, it turned out, I couldn't even begin to receive a compliment. Oh no. Right? No. Learning how to treat yourself with tenderness is no easy task, but it is so life-altering. And like she said, it's like warm, crusty bread. Each taste of kindness, I want it more and more, please. In her book, The Artist's Way, Julie Cameron claims that the antidote to shame is self-love, self-compassion. And I know that to be true. And with it comes the realization that each and every day I have a choice. I can choose to listen to the voice of shame, what I call my inner abuser, or I can listen to what Henry Nouwen calls the inner voice of love. The inner voice of love. It's in there, right? And throughout it all, I long to express myself creatively. But first, I needed to give myself permission to do so. We all do. And right now, Evan is going to show us how. There he is. This is my grandson, Evan. He's 8, and that's his frog he created for the art show, his school's art show. He is now 16 and 6 feet tall, but now he is super cute and adorable. Look at his face. Now, come on, look at that face. It's beaming, isn't it? He showed his mom, couldn't wait to show his mom, who couldn't wait to send it to me. Now I'm going to ask you, would you say to that sweet face, that does not look like a frog? The head is too square for one thing. Come on. And the lily pads, they look a little scribbled. What were you thinking? It's really awful. I just want to tell you, I hear big people say such things about themselves all the time when they're invited to create something. I hear it all the time. So who gave you their opinion of your artistic ability when you were a child? Exploring your relationship to creativity is the place to begin. So here are a few facts to ponder. The age of 5 years old, 90% of children freely measure high creativity in their lives. By the age of 7, it is now 10%. It was 90, and now it's 10. For adults, it's 2%. 2%. Somewhere between the ages of 5 and 7, we as children receive an opinion from some other person, teacher, parent, older brother having a bad day maybe, about our artistic capabilities, and this myth sticks. And it can stay a lifetime. 2% of adults. I have this example. I had a woman come to one of my workshops, and she just came along because her pastor invited her with the group. She sat down and announced, "I am not artistic. I like serving on the altar guild, and I iron the paraments. That's what I do. That's my job. That's what I do. I am not artistic." And I said, "So who told you that?" And she spent some time reflecting, like the rest of the class, on the relationship with creativity. And then she came back to share with everyone. She said, "That was my brother. I remember my brother telling me that." And sadly, for the next 7 decades, she was in her late 70s. She lived that out. Whose opinion guides you? Well, after we have permission, the next step is we need to just experience it. We need to play. And ironically, that is really hard for big people to do. It really is. So I brought another teacher besides Evan's sweet face. And that is this ascending dance. This piece is an example of co-creativity. When you're thinking art, you went to Van Gogh, right? George O'Keeffe. No, I'm talking about co-creativity as partnering with this loving presence. And it doesn't require specialized training or skill. All that is needed is a willing and open heart. It's a way of expressing feelings and making meaning, playing with metaphors. We don't find meaning, we make it. Some call it art journaling, art making as a spiritual practice, or divine play. The artist Avita Gold describes it as a way of painting from the source. Think of it as being guided by the intuition, your intuition, or simply saying, I'm going with the flow, right? And this experience showed me the way. In 2001, so 20 years ago, I said yes to paint this for a special service. I found simple instructions and a photo in a book, and I thought, well, how hard can this be? I could do this. And I spent the morning, I dragged it out on my driveway. It's 13 feet of heavy canvas fabric. And I spent the morning painting it, following the directions, and doing what I could. And by noon, I stood up, and I didn't like it one bit. I didn't like it at all. I was judging it. I was comparing it to the picture in the book, because that's the way it's supposed to look. And then the old voices rose up. You really don't know what you're doing, and you never went to art school. And the biggie for me is, who do you think you are? Yada, yada, yada. But after lunch, something shifted, and I quieted myself. What would I say to one of my children who were struggling like this? And this loving, mothering voice was in me. Relax, enjoy yourself. Let's just play. And I took the hose and I sprayed all the morning work off of that thing, just sprayed it. And I started over again. And I let go of the outcome. And I just played. This is where I finally got out of my own way. I got out of my head and I got centered in my heart. I stopped controlling and I let go of the outcome. And this experience taught me how to trust the process. And it was so fun. 20 years later, I can still feel the joy of it all. So, how does it make you feel when you look at that? What word comes to your mind? Anyone? Yes. Joyful. Joy. Yeah. Anyone else? Happy. Yes. Yeah. It speaks of letting go, right? Acceptance. And people that would sit with this saw many things in it that I have nothing to do with it. It's polyvalent, it's many meanings. It holds many meanings for whoever has the opportunity to be with it. It invites us to think, ponder, is there something, an idea or something in our own lives yearning to feel like this? What might that be? Today I can affirm that my creativity brings healing to myself and others. And yes, yours does too. During the darkest days of the pandemic, and I was just missing being with my family and friends, my loss of job, not knowing what would happen if I'd ever get out of my dang house again. I pulled out my old acrylic paints, my tub of acrylic paints, and got a canvas, and I began painting landscapes from photos of places that hold deep meaning to my family, places of retreat and joy and family just having a ball together. And I had always longed to paint like this, but never granted myself permission. Even after all those years of leading workshops, I never gave myself permission or time to really paint in that way. And I still don't know quite what I'm doing when I'm doing it. And that's okay, because I learned to trust the process. And the outcome never ceases to surprise me. You wait, you're going to have a chance today. Really. Today, when I put on my smock and I head to my art room, and I stand before my canvas, that is an act of self-compassion. Doing that. Entering that. It's a sacred space where a loving, mothering presence is always waiting to greet me. It's where I let go of my struggles of the day and float in the peace of the present moment. It's a place of wonder, mystery, possibility, and joy. I have a beat-up old quote hanging down there with me from Henry Miller. And it says, paint as you like and die happy. Isn't that great? What is it that makes your heart sing? Makes you come alive? Just do it. And don't do it because you're good at it. Do it because you love it. Do it for the joy of doing it. Whether working in your garden, dancing, building a shed in your yard, writing music and putting words together, planning a meal, taking photos, reading to children, playing the ukulele, Sally. See it as the opportunity that it is to show up for yourself, to enter in. Allow yourself to be vulnerable and feel that icky vulnerability. Feel it and do it anyway. Create a new thing. And if it's a struggle, find out what stops you from doing it. Do it with the knowing that it is needed in this world today. This world is crying out for people who have come alive. And as Sister Joan Chittister says, we are all called to create beauty. For beauty scatters the seeds of hope in all of us. All of us. Thanks for listening.
Can I just stand here? Thank you so much, Diane. Boy, that was really inspirational. Diane will also be joining us in Fellowship Hall to lead us in some creative play. For those of you joining us virtually, please stay tuned. You will participate in the creative play as soon as the presentation concludes. Ladies, we're now going to move to Fellowship Hall for our luncheon. If you don't know where you're sitting, please see a staff or committee member and they'll help you locate your table. We will reconvene there for the blessing from Amanda Nouse and then enjoy our lunch. I'd like to take a moment to say thank you to you all for joining us virtually. We hope you were able to enjoy the presentation, and we hope to see you again next year. To the rest of you, Fellowship Hall.
All right, are you all ready to have some fun? And we're going to play. You at home have very simple exercise for you to do. Get some paper. And I'm going to invite you to think about this question, okay? Just spend some time, breathe, center yourself, and think about the pandemic. When life came to a halt during the darkest days of the shutdown in 2020, the question is, what brought you light? What gave you hope? Now, a few reminders. I want you to remember to give yourself permission. This is not about a skill, it's about making meaning, okay? And to keep it simple. Keep it simple. I invite you to stay away from familiar symbols, to stretch yourself. Try to move beyond them, or else I believe a lot of us would simply be making a big red letter N for Netflix, and we don't want to do that. That helped get me through. But I want you to ponder what brought you hope. Keep it simple. And for me, I'm going to share with you right now, this is a good example for me. And this is my son, Emmett. I hope you can see it a little bit. But this is my iPad. And he was learning to read. He was in second grade. And he had to read out loud for 10 minutes. So he would call me. And I never knew when he was going to call. But you can see him reading. And it was always a smile that he greeted me. And me here listening. And it just warmed my heart, and it gave me hope. So it's as simple as that. And you can see I started doodling on the side, and you can play with it, right? So after you land on what that one thing is for you, I invite you to share a few sentences. Just write it out, okay? Reflect, do some reflection. And that's a way in which you can savor the experience, to deepen the experience. Give yourself that gift this day. And then I invite you to be brave and share it. If someone's with you watching this today, share it with them. Or else maybe call a friend and tell them about the hope that you encountered in this exercise. I don't know about you, but for the past year and a half, I've been calling people and doing a lot of grumbling. Perhaps you have too. Imagine calling someone and telling them about hope. Just think about it. I hope you allow yourself, give yourself permission to enter in and play. Invite that loving presence to be with you. Tamp down that critical voice and think. In the darkest days of the pandemic, what brought you hope? Go ahead and express it any way you want. There's no right, there's no wrong way. The meaning is yours to make. So go, get your crayons, get some markers, get some paper, and draw what brought you hope. Thanks. Thanks for listening.